Stats, I like him a lot here. Yes.
Yeah. Stats coming out.
All right.
16-7, even though he's got that right pointing arrows if he's not going up. He's 5-1 versus Zerg. He's 16-7 overall. A lot of people are sleeping on this guy because he hasn't been played that much in round 4, but if you look at how much he's done this year, you know, his Kespa Cup performance, his performance in Season 2 of Star League, and just his overall best of ones in Pro League, the guy is still super solid.
Yeah, I certainly think he's one of the best Protosses in the world still. He just hasn't been showing it recently.
He kind of fell apart a bit after that really brutal round of 16 group in the last Star League, where I think it was like Maru Zest and someone else as well in that group, and he just fell out in 4th place. But we'll see what he's going to be able to do against Curious.
Such a sad song.
Yeah. Curious much better in this matchup in Wings of Liberty, I feel, than how good he has been in Heart of the Swarm. But this is going to be an interesting one for sure. If Curious wins this, they will be down as the last player.
It'd be insane. Yeah. I think they'd have to bring out Zest then,
It would be up to Zest to lift, but let's see if it even gets their Stats versus Curious now on Coda. Up here in the top left in the red, a Protoss player from KT Rolster. It is Stats.
The bottom right in pink for SBENU defeating Life. It is Curious. Wanting to pull his team into match point would be a huge upset for SBENU to take KT Rolster out here.
Well, I mean, if they can beat SKT, I guess they can beat anyone, right? So
it's true.
I mean, if they get the preparation they need, they've shown that they can really mix it with the best of teams. It's just consistency, which has always been a problem. I think they can do it today. I think if they beat Stats, they have a very good chance of doing that.
Something to keep in mind, just on a somewhat external note going into the bigger postseason picture, we have not yet this season had a Telecom Wars finals for any of these rounds. So I think a lot of fans would like to see that. KT has not been as in form as SKT this season.
Yeah. It's been kind of sad for KT. I mean, they've been trudging along. They've at least made it this far, and I think they are guaranteed. Yeah, they are for the final playoffs as well, but definitely not the same kind of performance as last year.
Yeah, I mean, they are the defending champions of Pro League, so you would expect to see them at least go to grand postseason, and they have secured that spot. It's not yet determined if they're 3rd or 4th, but doesn't really matter too much going into that first matchup.
Yeah, certainly not. Pretty standard openings from both sides. Nothing out of the ordinary here. No cheeses or whatnot. Just a gateway at the top of the ramp. Pretty safety first kind of opening.
Yeah. That's like the one thing that maybe you wouldn't expect. Sometimes, usually you get it down at the bottom of the ramp at that other ramp at your natural.
Yeah. Very stylistic, I think, especially from Stats. You don't normally see every player do it unless they're really fearful of an early pool.
If Curious sends even more than like one more drone down here, oh my god, this should never work. This is clearly a fake. He put it, the only way he had vision of it was because he put it so close to the hatchery that he wanted him to see it. But he is going to react to this, and it's just going to be the Gate Nexus core opening back at home, and he's really got Curious a bit fumbled here. Curious definitely needs to pull his drones back now. He's already seen it to Gate.
Yeah, he should really pull them back right now, and he does so.
Okay.
A little bit of damage, but I mean, he also invested in 100 minerals for a pylon, so should have canceled that perhaps when he did see all those drones go down.
Well, I mean, I really like Stats' opening so far. A bit surprised Curious actually believed that.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys even remember the last time we saw like a Forge opening into Cannon Rush? I mean, we've seen Forge openings with like a fake pylon even without a Cannon Rush more times than we've seen a Cannon Rush in recent times.
Well, I can't even remember the last time, man. It's been a long time.
It just shows you the true fear Zergs have of it, because if you do let it go down and the cannons are behind it, you lose the game. And it's as simple as that. So Zergs either have to react to it or take a huge gamble that it's fake.
Yeah. I was a bit surprised he made it so obvious that it was fake. If you were ever going to intentionally cannon, you would never put the pylon in the vision of a building hatchery. That vision range is so small. Either way, he gets a small lead from it. The pylon will now go down. He's already remade an extra one.
The powerful thing about putting a pylon there is you can kind of sim city off a cannon as well if you build like on the right or left side. Really minimize the surface area it can be attacked from. And from then onwards, you can put cannons outside the ramp, so you can really stop anything getting out for even longer. So it's like kind of like a contained at the same time. So there's a lot of good things for it if they are committed to it. But yeah, you're right. You can just throw it at the back of the mineral line. But then the Zerg can kind of just run past that for the rest of the game.
Well, we have a Stalker into Sentry and now a Forge going up here. So nothing tech-wise shown for us just yet. I was expecting to see a quicker Stargate, to be honest.
Yeah, that's more of Stats' style, but maybe just wants to go into 2 more gates to block off that ramp and eventually take a 3rd base here with the +1. We have seen sometimes Protosses that do go for this very heavy Sentry style get totally rocked by a big double Roach Warren play. I don't see Curious as the Zerg to do that, to be honest. That's more of Departure style, but there are options, I suppose, for the Zerg to possibly get aggressive, especially on this map.
Yeah, there's also the possibility of, a gateway timing as well. If you're making that many sentries early on, if you're sitting at like 8 decent energy sentries and you just go for a big 8-gate attack, you can just win the game straight out there. And it's certainly an option to do that if you are going for simply a forged 3-gate 3rd base.
Notice the positioning of the Forge as well. It's not near any of the edges of the base. He's going to check with this probe that's making this pylon to see if any Overlords have gotten anywhere near it. If he actually sees this Overlord coming to the north, he could deny all scouting of the Forge whatsoever and really throw Curious for a curveball with a gateway attack.
Also, if you guys remember, that Stalker early on was very, very meticulous about getting that Overlord out of the base. He definitely wants to deny the scouting here from Curious.
Well, Curious is playing a very standard game based on the situation, going for a fast 3rd base, droning it up quite efficiently as well, sitting at 50 drones already. Now to that Roach Warren. Nothing out of the ordinary, just playing a standard safe game here. He really needs to try and figure out what Stats has got planned there.
Doesn't show a probe. Probe still goes up. Looks like he's going to make a 3rd base, and even if it's going to be empty. No extra gates. I think he's just simply going to try to use this Mothership Core to recall. Unfortunately, because he made it so late, the timing for that recall is not really there right now. 2 more sentries on the way, though, and a Twilight Council could be +2 blink. Most likely going to be the follow-up here.
Yeah, it doesn't really look like he wants to put on a ton of pressure right now. Ooh. He's really just forcing out a ton of units here from Curious.
Well, 24 links. It could be to try and cancel that 3rd base or simply trying to jump on top of those sentries. Hard to see. And +1 melee as well. Interesting.
He's got such a late speed, though. I feel like this is kind of a really big investment for Curious. If it fails, he's really going to be shooting himself in the foot for this one. Let's make a macro hatch, so it does look like he wants to do a more Ling-heavy composition. And perhaps eventually, maybe in the late game, transition to Ultras. We do have the Spire and Infestation Pit now on the way. It is going to be +2 blink. Overseer is going to come and kind of verify all of this.
I'm still waiting to see exactly where Curious wants to go from here. It could actually just be an investment into Infestors beyond this. And he'll go for that very heavy Ling, Roach, Infestor composition going into the later game where he adds on Ultralisks. If he's looking for that kind of thing, we'll see when that Infestation Pit finishes up here. Certainly a good way to defend against Mass Sentry Stalker there, at least for a little while until they kind of get out of hand.
Yeah, nice little changeling there in the natural. Doesn't look like Stats has noticed that just yet. Overseer going to see the entire base as well. Stats not really doing a good job from here of denying the scouting.
Well, not really making any use of it just yet. Maybe going to be investing in Mutalisks before he decides to do anything with that Infestation Pit. Not even a Hive.
Yeah, I mean, he's got enough to make 8 Mutas right away. He's also seen that there is no Stargate, which always makes Mutalisks a lot stronger.
Well, here we go. We'll find out in just a second. And there we go. This is pretty powerful if he can keep Stats over his side of the map. If he can keep him there with like Ling run-bys constantly, and stop him from moving over the other side until the mutas get to the main or the natural, like, he'll be in a great place. But this is like the scariest time of all, because if we do see Stats move out for a big attack, he can just steamroll him.
Yeah. He unfortunately doesn't really have much of a wall for his cannon at his 3rd base. There's no way he could just kind of walk away from his base and do an attack free from counterattacks. So he is going to be kind of trapped. He starts a Stargate, he scouts the mutas, and he's getting ready to kind of just turtle up here and sort of weather the storm, if you will.
More cannons going down. He's going to have 3 at this third base, 2 in the main, a couple stalkers there as well. He's definitely going to be kept on his side of the map for a very long time here. Not a big enough stalker army just yet. He's going to try to use this warp prism for some harassment of the main. That could be nice.
Yeah, and you know, I'm kind of getting the feel of like a classic style PVZ where he's just playing completely defensive. He's in no rush to leave his base at all. He's going to sit here and make sure he makes the correct army to deal with what Curious makes.
Yeah. I think this is a really good way to play this. He knows the Lings are out of position. He knows the Mutas are out of position. He's going to try to do a warp in here. Fortunately, out of money, so cannot do so. And now his warp prism is going to be killed.
Yeah. Just kind of sent in there, and it was seen just kind of idling there in the base, and it may just be taken out here by the Mutas now.
He actually kind of freaks out about this. He sent even his Lings back to his base.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a scary thing when your Mutas are on the other side of the map. While it's all happening there, we are seeing a Fleet Beacon and second Stargate go down, so he's going to go for that hard counter with Phoenix.
We talked about earlier about why TY is not, maybe a good choice versus Curious because his late game is so scary. And Curious is getting ready for that late game with all these spines being added and all these upgrades coming out. The Fleet Beacon nearly finished, so we can see that Anion Pulse Crystals is a better answer here for stats.
Well, the scariest thing as well from what Curious is doing is going for double upgrades with Melee and Carapace behind this, which is something not every Zerg will do in this situation.
I'm not sure about this engagement here. He's actually fighting into such a concave of Stalkers with +2 and Guardian Shield up. Force Field's zoning out the Lings.
Yeah, I think he was just really trying to trade with some of those sentries there. Maybe just for a follow-up attack a bit later on. Notice he did get the +1 attack for his Flyers, but kind of stopped there, and he stopped at 16 Mutalisk. I think this was really just a tempo play, as Moonglay was saying a bit earlier on, to get full map control, keep stats in his base, and then eventually transition into possibly just Infestor, Ultra, Ling, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be Ultra Ling and with some Infestors behind it. It's going to be so scary because Stats has allowed him to do this. If he allows him to go into Ultralisk Cavern and make some Ultras before he moves across the map, I'm pretty sure Curious just destroys the army that comes out because he's not going to have enough to really remake one. He doesn't have a 4th base on the way or anything like that a Protoss will really need. At least the very smart thing we're seeing right now is that he's not investing in Phoenix.
Yeah, he's just waiting, and he's getting a robotics. He's getting ready for those Immortals in that regard. He gets +1, and that's going to be useful later on in the game if he ever needs to make any sort of Stargate unit no matter what, so I do like this. He's even investing now in +2. He knows this game is going super late game, and he's also invested a ton in turtling, which Curious has successfully made him do, which makes part of the reason why it's so hard for him to actually take a 4th base, but very soon, I think we're going to see him be able to break out and take that 4th. And the question is, what does Curious do at that moment? Does he try to stop this? Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Is he actually going to save these?
Oh, don't lose all the Lings for it.
Oh, he gets 1 Archon.
He should have just forced out the Archons and retreated, and that's your victory right there.
Well, now there's a time for Stats perhaps to feel a little bit more flexible to take that 4th base because all those Lings just died.
5 Ultras are on the way, though, and if they're allowed to come out before anything happens, could be a pretty messy situation. And this 4th base fairly out in the open there. It's going to be hard to defend that efficiently.
Yeah, blocked by a Ling as well.
Yeah, Curious trying to come in here and pressure. I think he wants to also identify the fact that that 4th base is coming up here. Has not been... Oh, there's actually a burrowed Ling there.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, but...
But Stats' play is kind of interesting. He really is just digging the trenches for the super late game, just trying to get the perfect army composition here. He essentially put 0 pressure on Curious.
He's lost no units either.
Yeah.
He's basically taken no damage.
Oh, I don't know. Looking for an Immortal is the way to go here. Maybe getting rid of some Ling supply there.
Yeah, and now he's going to get a little bit more damage done at the natural. Force out a Nexus Cannon. Only a few probes so far with that priority there, but he could get the Mothership Core, which would be pretty huge, and he will, and escape. The Blink will chase, but most of these Mutas will escape alive, and even if he loses a few, can replace those with more Ultra supply. This Ling finally cleaned up. Ooh, going to get hit by some of these cannons. But I feel like Stats has really set up a great late game here.
Oh, he can cancel this. He can cancel this if he wants to.
It's only Zealots. He's coming in.
Yep, and it's just so new. There's very few hit points.
Oh, man. Well, you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see Curious actually invest in more Mutas, because it's clear that Stats isn't investing in any sort of hard counter to them. If you sit around 16, you can just fly in, do damage, and you've got enough units at home, you've got Fungal and Ultras at home to defend against any sort of counter attack.
This is absolutely going to be a very long game, no matter which way you look at it. He's already got 11 Ultras on the map that he's just kind of waiting for Stats to almost attack into with this harassment. Good probe pull here, but he's going to need more than that.
Yeah, this is ridiculous that he can still do this. You know, it shouldn't happen when you have 9 mutas. He might even just be sacking him at this point.
Oh, he's looking for a great position here on the right side of the map.
Oh, man, and Stats has no wall set up here. Storms are not going to be very useful. He wants some feedbacks, perhaps, on the Vipers and Infestors.
He's letting it go, it seems.
Yeah, just going to sit back on 3 base, make some kind of wall against the Ultras, and tell Curious, you know, hey, if you want to attack into me, you can. I'm not going to die.
Well, Curious says, in regards to that, I'm going to make Brood Lords. No problem at all, mate.
He's got already all these answers. It's just, can he keep using this gas to hold on? Again, Mutalisk going to get some harassment. Only 6 Mutalisk, finding 2 more probes. He's got a fleet beacon. You know, he's got Tempest production set. He's got +2 for those air units as well. So he's got this transition available, but can he afford to? He's losing, again, no units. Like, Curious is never killing a bunch of stalkers. He's never actually killing any of the army, but eventually Stats is going to mine out of gas. His main base is getting dry, is natural, not far off.
He's really just going for one big army, and if that army fails, he loses the game. That's what it really comes down to here. And I don't know if that's the best way to go about it, considering the bank of Curious, the composition that's going to be able to deal with just about anything, unless too many Tempests come out. But when you're trying to make Tempest off 3 base, it's going to take a long time to get to a decent number.
I think this 4th base is going to be much easier to take, to be honest. You can send your army over here. You've created that kind of mini wall with the pylons in between your 2nd and 3rd bases, and you've got a decent setup at your 3rd base as well. And look at this concave. If Curious ever wants to go up and attack there before he gets Broodlords, it's going to be quite hard.
Well, it's like he's just going to try and steamroll it now.
Look at the split here. Down go the Storms. A ton of Overseers here. Fungals do blanket the army. But look at all these Immortals fighting into this with Ultralisk. Needs Blinding Cloud support, and even with it, Ultras are going to surround, or rather, Immortals are going to surround and kill these Ultras.
Yeah, that was not the correct composition to deal with that's for sure. That was like water on rocks.
That almost just looked like Curious was getting impatient, and he's like, I just have to attack you.
I guess I got to throw the game, and he does.
I think he didn't expect that many Immortals, you know?
Well, yeah, that's for sure. But when he saw them, he might have probably tried to change his mind instead of just trying to go for one big attack with a lingless army, which is something you need against Immortals, to try and tie them up a little bit.
He needs somebody to deal with the cloak here as well. He's going to have these Overseers in position, and those Broodlords can be targeted down very easily by the Tempest at the back of the army.
Well, here we go. He's going to try now. That's 4 Tempest, so he can one-shot the Broodlords as well.
And that's what we're going to see him attempt to do here. This hatchery is already starting to take damage, but with all these links, he's probably going to have to just bounce back and recall. 100 energy available. And he's going to trade as best as he can before he does so. Oh,
he's trying to knock down that mothership, and it is going to go down.
He didn't recall, but he's still going to take a decent fight here.
And more Corruptors are needed, and 14 more on the way, as well as a couple more Broodlords. Yeah, Curious still in a great place, you know, sitting on 5 bases like this, and we don't even see the 4th base of Stats mining right now.
There's like more changelings here than there are probes. He's got +3 now for his Tempest. He's going to have 7 Tempests in a moment. I feel like Curious could maybe even attempt to take another base. It's going to be risky, though, because the Protoss is at such close proximity.
You don't want to invest too many drones as well. Like, he's sitting at 10 gas right now, which is pretty perfect to make that late-game army. It's just about making the right one and using it perfectly. And so far, he's been pretty underwhelming with that Ultra attack, but this army he has now is good, so long as he can try and deal with those Tempests, perhaps with those Corruptors in a good position.
Yeah, how many Corruptors does he actually have right now? Can you check that? It's 13.
13, so it's a decent number. 3 more on the way. Well, throwing away these Lings is going to open up a bit more supply to do even more than that.
Yeah. Zealots here get shut down hard. Curious is the king of Spine Forests.
Exactly. I mean, we've seen Zergs go down to simple Zealot harass in these later game fights versus Protoss before. I was actually going to say, you know, Classic, definitely one of those guys who will play very passive, but will definitely try to do some harassment on the map for sure with those Zealots. We're finally seeing that out of Stats, but against Curious, that may not be too much of an option. He's going to send more Zealots this time.
Yeah, but I mean, eventually this will get worn down. It's going to force a bigger reaction from Curious. He can't have his army in the middle of the map while this is happening with just, like, what, say 6 Spines. He's even using Blink Stalkers now to clear up creep tumors. See, eventually he's going to break through these Spines, and that's going to become a problem. He's going to have to use more than just static defense to hold onto these bases as the bank of stats is big enough.
Well, looks like he's actually going to commit to the big fight on the 4th base here. So Curious just going to be planning to go for it. I mean, sack this base and just try and hopefully win the big fight.
Oh man, this is a bit of a tense moment for Curious. He actually hesitates and moves back. And he's going to be up against +3 Tempest, and Void Rays are now being added in to help fight the Corruptors. He's going to have +1 armor, not too far away.
I think Stats finally gained some breathing room to finally go for this. He really couldn't have let Curious just sit back on 5 base and, you know, easily mine those 10 gases you were talking about, Moonblade.
Yeah.
He had to do something to stop that and maybe eventually force Curious into an not that great of a fight for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's really also just sitting here. He's not actually making a move with this giant maxed out army he has, which is a big problem for Curious. You know, he's being really indecisive with what he wants to do. He's not even spreading creep with his queens, which he could be doing on the way to this base.
Look at this. Even Blink Stalker's finding harassment versus this insanely immobile army that he's scouted. It looks like he's going for desperation here. He's going to take this fight, or at least attempt to. And Stats says, you know what? I'm just going to let you have it. I'm not going to take a bad fight. I'm just going to keep willing you down with Zealots. And if I have to fight you, I will. And I'm going to have a ton of Void Rays and Tempest to do so.
Yeah, he's just waiting for that perfect army to hard counter what we see from Curious.
And he's doing so much damage, critical damage back at the base of Curious. Curious is never really going to be able to mine so much from here. I mean, he's mined out of his natural now. The 3rd base is no longer mining. That's going to be it.
I mean, that's a scary amount of Corruptors. They can deal with what we have in the air for Stats, but if Stats keeps buying time and destroys the economy completely, then it doesn't even matter.
It's just all about mobility. I'd even like to see more photon cannons, to be honest, so these Corruptors can't just sack onto the Tempest. He's got some Infestors here as well, 4 of them, and that Stalker army is not going to be helpful back in the defense. But here's that attempt. He's just going to run in here with Corruptors.
There's so many Storms, though. He can't do that. He can't commit to this. He's got to try and deal with these Templars as well, with the Broodlords.
And there's even Archons here. If they get underneath those Corruptors, it's going to be even worse.
Yeah, and Stats, I mean, he's just sacking everything as well because he knows he's done critical damage to the base of Curious.
He's
so
actually
he's going for that one fight. That's going to be it.
Yeah, he's actually going to start eliminating Curious's buildings in a minute here. He's got such a solid defense that Curious just simply does not have back at home.
Well, it's all going to come down to this big fight that Curious has to initiate, which is always going to be a problem against these Storms and feedbacks, mind you. And look at this, just constantly poking. I'm sure we've seen a lot of units whittled off already. And here we go.
There's the Storms. By the way, all the Stalkers went down to a few Ultralisks, so he's no longer able to kill all of Curious's buildings, but he has stopped his mining, essentially.
To be honest, that's all you need at this point. We still see the Tempest being very cost efficient, whittling down these Broodlords, only sitting at about 14 now. It was a lot higher before.
I'm getting flashbacks to that reality Sulky game, different matchup, but where Sulky just forever ran away with his very long-range units. I guess you can call a Swarm Host back then. And he's like, I'm just never going to fight you straight on. I'm just going to always poke you down.
Curious bringing almost all of his drones here as well. He needs 300 mils before he can make another hatch. Probably should be mining with a lot more of those, so I'm a bit surprised he is not.
Yeah, it's a bit of a problem here.
If he ends up losing too many of these Overseers, mind you, as well, that's another problem.
Looks like he's looking for another commitment here. Got to think twice about this, though. He's got to wait for these Broodlords to get on top of these Templar, so he can kind of zone out the Storms at least a little bit more.
Yeah, it's almost like he was trying to use the Ultralisk for that. Okay, Tempest barely... not able to grab him.
This is the Fungals on the Templar as well. I think he's trying to bait out the Templar and go for a Fungal possibly.
Ooh, the Templar getting low. He might lose one.
Fully committing to this one.
Oh, he certainly is. Going on top of this army. Storms go down. He needs a turn with the Void Rays. The Archons need to get onto this as well. There's a lot of Void Rays back at home not being used here either.
Oh, I don't think it's enough anti-air left for Curious, actually. They're so low, all those Corruptors. Looks like it might be able to whittle down the remaining Templar, but once these Voids come...
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The Void Rays are coming in here, and if he kills all those Corruptors, these Broodlords are worthless.
Well, he's
Curious
can't
the last
make
Tempest.
anything else, by the way. Stats has actually been mining from that top right base for so long. Something we forgot to mention, but is so key right now.
Can he kill it? Even if he does, what's he going to do?
Well, then it just becomes like whatever's left over is going to try and do the trick here.
He has nothing left over. He doesn't even have any. He's got 4 Lings on the map. 43 drones are not going to win a base trade. This is game over. This is GG.
Yeah, Broodlord's going to just get wiped out, not even killing the Nexus, and there's nothing Curious can do from here.
An incredible feat to outpatience Curious. GG. I mean, talk about purely building a counter to everything Curious was doing and sacking bases.
That's exactly what he was doing. He was just playing for that one big fight. At the end of the day, he said, okay, my Protoss army is always going to be stronger than your late game Zerg army. So I don't even care about my buildings anymore. As long as I can hold one base and continuously pump out enough Void Rays for that one final fight, I am going to win.
He never fought. He never traded. He only built a bank off of just 3 bases, just 6 gases, just enough bank.
Yeah. Well, that's all it takes if you have the right answer. And he really went to that late game answer that's going to cover Ultras and Broodlords, and he made just enough Void Rays at the end there to hard counter what was left over. I think it was a bit of a mistake from Curious to let his bases go and go for that one big attack, considering he knew what he was up against and how hard it was going to be to initiate on that army.
Yeah, it was almost like he thought the spines were going to be able to hold forever, and he never really had to think about it. But once that was proven false, he kind of just stopped. Like the program was stopped or something. There was an error. And he's like, what do I do? Kind of looked like innovation in the middle of the map where he just wouldn't attack, but he wouldn't go back and defend, and eventually he was just put in a disadvantageous position.
I wouldn't have minded to see, 40 Lings or so on the map to help defend those Stalkers while he's pushing with some of those Broodlords. 40 Lings, that's about how much more supply is it really going to cost you? Maybe 3 or 4 more Broodlords that are just sitting there doing nothing. If you commit more of that 200 supply to Lings, you can defend your bases a lot easier, especially against those Blink Stalkers.
Yeah. Well, that was game number 4. The next map is going to be Terraform, but before that, we are going to go to a 10-minute break.